are going to come in, surely they have experience of trading carbon along with power in the European markets. Do you see, in just a quick question basically on the Australian power markets, will carbon act like a simple add-on to the power cost in the Australian trading scheme, like we are seeing in Europe, where it's just added cost on the cost of power? Do you think similar thing will happen in Australia?
Yes, it's difficult to anticipate exactly how it will work, but there will be a cost. The way it's likely, the generators will need to look at how do they now physically bid into the electricity market. How does having a carbon price impact their bidding and the way that they generate and operate their plant, because there will be implications around that. And in terms of cost pass-through, it will be interesting the way that is developed. At this point, it's probably a little bit unclear because, as an example, this floor price on certified emission reduction units, if this isn't resolved in a way where retailers, electricity retailers, can get certainty on their forward costs, they will have to do a pass-through rather than being able to build in a carbon cost into their electricity contract.
Right.
So some of these design issues that are still to be sorted out might impact what some of the providers do.
Interesting. Now that you have kind of given some background on the legislation as well as on the carbon pricing and the power markets relationship, I'd really like to turn attention on offsets.
Yes.
You did touch upon the carbon farming initiative and the use of certified emission reductions. But what is the understanding in the market regarding offsets? Is there a very bullish voluntary market so that people simply understand what an offset is, or do you think that will take time to develop now that this legislation is in the pipeline?
I think a lot of there are some players that understand carbon markets very well in Australia, but there's other players that aren't currently trading electricity and other commodities. So there will be a lot of education that will be required to bring people's knowledge up to speed, but I think there'll be a lot of resources. The Carbon Market Institute, for example, which has been established in Victoria, is now providing businesses with transparency of what courses are available, identifying what the training gaps are. So I think there'll be a lot of training and development in this space. But with the Carbon Farming Initiative, this is something that's very new. It's creating offsets that are mostly in the agricultural sector.
Right, yeah.
And it is a very sort of newish area, but holds a lot of opportunity in Australia. But where I see most of the opportunity will be in tree planting, savanna burning, which involves the Indigenous community in the northern part of Australia is a very exciting one, because it also provides employment to the Indigenous community, which is wonderful. There'll also be in the farmers or in the agricultural space, there will be, if you reduce the impact of N2O on fertilisers, you'll also be able to get offsets, or methane reduction in piggeries or dairies. So what it may end up doing is creating some innovation around these particular areas. So it's a great opportunity for those that are in that sector. But there does need to be a lot of education, because it is all very, very new in Australia.
It's interesting because I'm going to ask you the next question regarding opportunities, and I think you've already answered most of it. But I was thinking, what is the financial sector in Australia doing about it? What is their view? Are they doing something special about it? And basically the banks and the general accountants and other kind of the finance community.
Yeah, I think most of the financial institutions will definitely be engaged in the carbon market. It'll be an important product to provide to customers. All the commercial banks in Australia participate in the renewable energy certificate market that we have. That in Australia we have a 20% target for renewable energy by 2020, and all of the domestic banks actually participate in that. So I see all the banks will be active in this market as it develops, but it will take time because banks will have to get approvals to trade these products, and it will take time to establish the capability to actually provide this to customers. But some of the banks are already participating, like at National Australia Bank, we already have capacity to do certified emission reduction units and even European allowances.
Right.
So some banks are already participating in these markets.
That's very interesting that you already are the early movers in the entire global carbon market. You mentioned that other banks will probably, with a bit of education, start developing products. But an important part of any carbon market is the exchange. Are there any talks at the moment on even the design of an exchange, or do any companies are going to promote an exchange? Do you know something about it?
There are lots of rumours about a number of different entities. I do believe there will be an exchange that's established. It's just who will get in first. But it will be a great opportunity for an exchange to enter into the market. But it's very difficult to know who's going to be the first mover. There will be some risks because there are regulatory risks in this.
Right.
And that might affect appetite. So it's really timing of when that occurs. But I think it is important to see an exchange develop in Australia.
Right. I think we have really covered a lot of ground here in this quick interview. What's the final question, Jennifer, which I'd like to ask you is that what message would you like to convey to the international audience regarding the Australian carbon legislation and the scheme?
It's likely it will happen hopefully on the 8th of this month. It will enable Australia to become part of the global international market. There will be lots of opportunities in Australia that will arise out of this in terms of technology being imported into Australia, expertise around the clean development mechanism. So a lot of opportunities. So if you do have an interest in carbon markets, I suggest it is an important space to watch. And I hope to see you in Australia.
I think we'll end it there, and I think the message is pack your bags and go to the flight to Melbourne. I think that's the place to be. Thanks a lot, Jennifer, for your precious time. And we are here at the Carbon Forum Asia in Singapore. Until the next interview, I'd like to say all of you goodbye. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.